The class of 2025 is really starting to ramp up, which means there's a question for Matt Rhule in Nebraska in this cycle. Are they going to land a quarterback to pair with Dylan Raiola and Daniel Kaelin, or are they going to wait until 2026? So in this video, I'm going to answer that question. What will happen? Who are some quarterbacks we are going after? Some quarterbacks that we did go after and missed out on, and everything else in between. So real quick, if you like the content, please hit the like button on this video. It really helps me out, along with subscribing to the channel. We've had 30 Husker content videos throughout the month of January, talking about recruiting, talking about next season. Nobody's doing like us on this channel, so if you don't want to miss out on anything more, please hit that subscribe button. But let's get to talking about this class for the Cornhuskers. We've already seen them have a couple commits, but no answer yet at that quarterback spot. Of course, we did land Dylan Raiola and Daniel Kaelin in 2024, but a lot of people still want to add some more young faces to this room. And a lot of this conversation started to intensify as of yesterday when Alex Mansky committed to Iowa State. And if you're not familiar with Alex Mansky, this is a guy who had strong Nebraska ties. He was number 3 on my class of 2025 big board, and a guy who Nebraska expected to land at quarterback, but he flips over to Iowa State, does not become a Nebraska Cornhusker, and that really started the conversation. Are we even going to land a Nebraska quarterback commit in general? We saw earlier in this class that the guy we were after, Stone Sanders, committed to Kentucky over us, but that was before we landed anybody like Daniel Kaelin or Dylan Raiola. So there's a theme in this class. Quarterbacks are scared of the competition at Nebraska, clearly, right? It's hard to sell a quarterback that you are going to sit behind Dylan Raiola for 2 years and then potentially Daniel Kaelin after that. That's 2 or 3 years of just riding the bench. And at this point in college football, when there's the transfer portal, when there's NIL, there's a lot of entitlement, it's very hard to convince a quarterback to basically sit on the bench and trust the process. So that's something that you're going to see Nebraska dealing with throughout this class. Now, as for the question, does Nebraska even want a quarterback in this class? I say we absolutely do. We only have 3 scholarship quarterbacks, and I don't think we land a transfer. Speaking of which, 2 of those are true freshmen, and one of them is a senior who probably won't be on the roster after this year, and Heinrich Harbert. So you could potentially be going into 2025 with only 2 scholarship quarterbacks. And I know what you're going to be saying, Wilson, we can just fill that hole in the transfer portal. But if you've been listening to what Matt Rhule has been saying since he has got here, he says, I don't want to do this in the transfer portal. You know, as the years progress, I want to use that less and less because I want to build this program through high school recruiting. This is a put up or shut up moment for Matt Rhule. Prove it, right? Land a guy in this class of 2025 and keep getting young talent on this team. But again, it's a hard sell. You need young depth. You cannot continue to play this game in the transfer portal where we're getting guys as depth. Because we already saw this issue this year. No transfer quarterback wants to be a backup. And you're going to be in a bad situation if you're trying to land a guy to be your second string quarterback because you're not going to land a very good guy. So we really just go back to high school recruiting. You need to find somebody. If you look at the guys who Nebraska's offered in this process, there's not many. You've only offered 8 guys at that quarterback spot, and most of them are already committed, and a lot of the others are high-profile guys who aren't going to come to Nebraska anyways. We see Michael Terry uncommitted. He's a top 100 player. He will not go to Nebraska. Matt Zollers, a top 200 player. He will not go to Nebraska. And that leaves us Dylan Duff, who's a 3-star out of Missouri, who already has a lot of offers at that 3-star spot. Likely will not go to Nebraska either. So, again, you're in a predicament. You really don't have a guy, and it means you have to extend some more offers, or you just have to accept the fact that you aren't going to land a quarterback in this class. So I say this because it is hard to recruit to Nebraska right now with Dylan Raiola starting for the next 3 to 4 years. And you might say, well, there's programs like Alabama or Ohio State who pitch the exact same thing and still get recruits. The reason why is they have a proven track record. Ohio State brings quarterbacks to the NFL every year. Same thing with Bama, right? So if you're a quarterback, it's a lot safer of a bet to go there and go through that basically process and hopefully be the quarterback by the end of it and then go to the NFL. Nebraska is a wild card. They have not produced an NFL quarterback in over 10 years. You know, you don't know if you're going to be developed to the best of your abilities. So from Matt Rhule's perspective, you need to start to act like, hey, we have Glenn Thomas now. We have Marcus Satterfield. We trust our development. You have to flex the fact that Charlie Brewer was a guy developed under Glenn Thomas. PJ Walker was. Those are NFL guys. You have to flex the fact that Matt Ryan was a guy who's also a strong ties with Glenn Thomas. So flex those connections. Flex the fact that you can be developed by Nebraska. And then a lot of the players will be more susceptible to want to ride the bench and want to basically be developed and be the next guy up. But it's hard to convince that. So I don't think we're going to land a 4-star in this class. There's not a guy that really pops off the board. There's not a guy that has been hinted at. Stone Sanders is probably our best chance. If we do, in fact, land a quarterback in this class, I believe it's an in-state guy or a guy around the area, Iowa, Kansas, a guy maybe underlooked. I'm not expecting a world beater. I'm not expecting a 4-star. You're looking at a 3-star guy who's probably been under-recruited in his career and looking for a place to stay. I was thinking about it earlier. A guy like a Madden Riggs, who's an Omaha kid, goes to Elkhorn South. Guy who was kind of underlooked in the process but made to the state title game this year. You could potentially add him to this class as a late offer, right? Again, no, it's not going to be an impressive quarterback, and I'm sorry to tell you that, but it's just the position where we're at. It's not a good position. You can't get transfers here with the whole General situation. You really can't get high school recruits either. And I'm not blaming the staff. That's just what happens when you get a good quarterback. It's hard to convince guys to sit on the bench. But it's something that we're going to absolutely have to watch over the next couple months, to which, if Nebraska is even going to recruit this position strongly, to which I believe they absolutely need to, given the fact that we will only probably have 2 scholarship quarterbacks on this roster after this year. And that is a problem. And I'm going to tell you this right now. As I said earlier, you cannot find a backup quarterback in the transfer portal. It's impossible. All those guys want to start, and they would rather go to FCS football. They'd rather go even to Division II football to start and get playing time rather than go to Nebraska and be the backup for a young quarterback. I'll tell you that every day of the week, right? Unless you find an outlier like a Casey Thompson or a Spencer Sanders, who I've talked about in earlier videos. So I just want to talk about that a little bit. Again, that's Matt Rhule's pitch. He needs to pitch his development, pitch that he's going to take you to the NFL, but you just need to wait for it. And that's his best chance of success. But I don't know if we land a quarterback. I don't think we will. And I think that's going to be a problem that we're going to have to watch going into 2025, whether or not we're going to get a transfer quarterback there who could be a backup. But I think it's going to be an ongoing problem. So something that I want you guys to think about. Let me know what you think about this down below. Are you concerned at all? Do you have a guy that you want Nebraska to go after? Because let's think about it right now. There really hasn't been any smoke around Nebraska going after a quarterback. There hasn't been a quarterback who went on campus. We saw that our only targets committed elsewhere. I don't know, man. We'll see what Matt Rhule has under his sleeve. Hopefully it's something good. I trust Matt Rhule. I trust the offensive coaches. So we'll see what happens. But let me know what you think down below. If Nebraska will, in fact, land a quarterback in 2025, are we okay if it doesn't happen? Let me know your takes. It's always like the video and subscribe. But without further ado, go Big Red, go Matt Rhule, and see you in the next one.